Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to I think the last time I did um, one of these was in September when I got my new private office. I'm no longer in that private office because it turns out I didn't really use it as much as I was going to. And so this time I'm like, let's just stream from home, right? If it's during the day and nobody else is home, should be fine. So this is where I live, at least a tiny part of it. More you won't be able to see. But the thing I really wanted to work on this time, instead of the stream processing framework that I've been working on, is to do something more on the front end. It's been too long since I've really started something new, and as some of you might know, I'm currently looking for a new job or a new contract. And I sort of realized that like a lot of my open source stuff that's out there is all backend stuff. And that's kind of weird because I'm consider myself a product engineer. So I actually think the thing I'm best at is the front end. It's at least that's where I really start. Like basically every backend bit I do is to try and make the front end work. I want a feature on the front end. It needs to work in a certain way, and that's why I'm motivated to make stuff work on the back end. So, and I've been working on a lot of back office stuff that I can't really share links to publicly as easily. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a little app, and I've actually been wanting to make a little app like for a while now. And I really wanted to use React Native to do it because I did a little. I got to work on a sort of 2-day little assignment like a little while ago, where I had to use React Native, and I've been using React Native. I've been using React since pretty early after it came out, but I've never really. I've sort of played with React Native a little bit. One of the first and biggest issues on the original repo was mine because it was a problem about Watchman not dealing with symlinks properly or something like that. But beyond experimenting, I never really got to use it. It's only since a couple of weeks ago where I really spent 2 days trying to make something where I realized, hey, this is actually pretty cool. It actually works fairly well. There's lots of little details that you should know about, but in the end, I feel pretty comfortable figuring out those things. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, I have an iPhone and I have an iPad Pro, and all of a sudden I can actually make experiences on this that I wasn't really able to make from the web point of view, especially when it comes to gestures and that sort of stuff. So I was like, okay, that's what I want to do, but then what do I want to make? And I'm also a big Formula One fan. I've studied automotive engineering. So that gives you some sort of a hint why I'd be into it, not because of the burn and tire and rubber smoke, yeah, but more like, no, I'm a geek and I like engineering. I studied automotive engineering, and I think it's quite a marvel how these prototypes built over a couple of months go racing against each other and at the same time are the fastest racing cars in the world. But the main issue I've always found is that since Formula One races are basically all over the world, is that I missed start of races because there's always a time zone difference, and there's like different daylight saving issues. Like every programmer who has dealt with time zones before knows exactly how complicated time zones can be. And I always try to look for a Formula One schedule. And I always trying to figure out, okay, what time do I need to turn my television on in order to watch this? And most of the time it works out all right, but actually a lot of the time I turn the TV on thinking it's about to start, and it's already an hour in, which means that I then have to wait because I don't want anything to be spoiled, and then watch it later on at night or whatever, and it's just pretty annoying. So I was like, at the very least, I would really like to have a very simple app that just tells me when I should turn the television on. So to actually deal with the time zones properly, for it to detect where I am, and to tell me when to turn on the TV. And I started thinking about the other things that I might want out of an app like this. Basically, also know whether it's worth turning on the TV on at all. Is the driver that I support doing well? Is the team that I support well? Did I have a car that might work well at this circuit, or is it one of those ones where I can probably watch it later because it's probably not going to be the best race, or and especially because I have a partner who isn't always as much into it. I got her into it quite a bit, but ever since her drivers moved to a team that's no longer doing as well, Daniel Ricciardo, if that means anything to anyone's watching, no longer doing as well, is slightly less interested. So I definitely have to pick my battles about which ones do I interrupt the entire Sunday for in order to go watch live, and which ones can I watch later. Anyway, that's something that I've always wanted, something I could make in web, but I was like, you know what, let's make a little React app, a little mobile app for that. So now I've actually done a little bit of design work, because in most of the time I work in small teams, and I do it all anyway. I often have a design a design role as well, although it's definitely better to have someone else on as well. So let me go to my programming view. All right, so I should be able to open a note from my iPad. Can I do that without revealing my entire life to you? I'm not quite sure. Here we go. See, you can tell this is live because I've sort of prepared this, but I haven't really prepared this. So let's have a look here. Hey, there's no webcam on my... There I am. Hey, hello. So you gotta monitor my outputs a bit. It's been a while since I've done this. That's as much as clear. Okay, how can I get this? Here we go. All right, let's get this in here. Okay, so I started off with one of these, and that's basically trying to get a sort of a systematic view of what my app is going to be. I hope this is big enough for everyone to write. Plus, obviously, I made this not knowing that I was going to do a live stream about it. That's sort of something I came up with quite recently. So you probably won't be able to read this because it's my handwriting with my Apple Pen on my iPad Pro, which is not the best writing experience in the world anyway. So that's a lot of excuses to say my handwriting is atrocious. But anyway, as far as we can tell, there is a simple declaration of inputs and outputs going through the little F1 app I want to make, and these are some actions and tools that I wanted to be able to perform. So I listed all my inputs. I know, I want to know when the next session is for my time zone. I want to know whether my favorite driver could do well at it, and I want to know where my driver is in the standings. And I want the outputs to be so I can anticipate when to watch the next session, and can research whether it's worth watching live at all. That's sort of what I said earlier. Hopefully, the outcomes of that would be that I've got more insight in the chances of the driver, into the chances of driver's chances. Sure, fewer annoyed spouse for wasting time on a boring race, which is quite crucial to me. And no more missed starts of quali or races. So qualifying is one of the earlier sessions of a race weekend. So that was one. Now let's move it to the other. Is that also in here already? Look, I'm trying to use handover here, but it's not quite as smooth as one would hope it is. Notes, yeah. Okay. This is one of these kind of things that I'm actually quite new to making a flow diagram like this. I saw Ryan Singer doing it the other day, who I really respect as like a designer, and I was like, this is kind of the thing that makes sense to me, so I want to give this a go as well. Now, are we gonna see this other? I'm just gonna have to go and airdrop it again. Share, airdrop. Airdrop is really nice at moments like these. crazy nice, really. All right, here we go. That wasn't too bad. All right, so this is sort of what, also a thing that I started doing because I saw other people doing it, is I want to get rid of that. Is sort of a breadboard. So rather than actually going down to the wireframe level, I often find wireframes, at least from my own design experience, not always that useful. Instead, I like to do this, which is breadboarding, which is basically I define different screens, different locations you might be in the app, whether those are actually different screens and you can only see one of them separately or not. That's besides the point, and that's not necessarily true. But I basically want to get all the affordances in here. It's like, okay, what's the actual information that I want to display, and how will I actually get from the one place to the other place? How will the navigation sort of work? And trying to put that together is, generally speaking, a really nice way of communicating about these things, scoping what we're going to do without getting lost in actual making of layouts and actual 2D 2D problems that we can solve. Let me get rid of these. Looking a little better. So basically, I said, okay, there needs to be a round schedule view over here, which hopefully makes sense. So within a season of Formula One, each race is called a round. I guess that's used in other sports as well. Don't really watch too many other sports, but hopefully that makes sense. In that, I wanted to see the past rounds, the upcoming round, which is probably the most important thing. So we probably want to highlight that, and future rounds because, planning ahead, I guess. And then there should be some way from there to then go and view that round. And so a little arrow up to the round. Now in the round, I've sort of said, okay, I want to know something about the completed sessions, because each Formula One weekend consists of not just the race, but also the qualifying, which is where all the Formula One cars try to drive the fastest single lap, whereas a race is over multiple laps and they're all at the track at the same time and whoever finishes first wins. Qualifying, it's sort of a little bit more flexible about when you're allowed to go on track, but it's all about trying to put the best lap time in, and then you sort of get ranked by lap time. It's a little bit more complicated than that for those who watch Formula One, but if not, that's all you really need to know. So those things are called sessions. There's all practice sessions. There's like practice 1, 2, and 3, where the teams get to drive the cars. Drivers can learn the circuit for as much as they don't know it yet. Can set up the car to make sure that it works well. I'm not sure if I really care about those. Those are sort of on the Friday, so generally I'm working then. Sometimes I have them on the side if I'm not really doing anything that needs 100% of my attention. But generally speaking, I don't really get to see those anyway, and I don't really know if I have the data for them. So anyway, at least qualifying and race is really what I want to cover. Select a driver. So for the driver that I'm interested in, I want to see the past results on that, for that round, because that often is a good indicator about how that would do this time, which could hopefully, which I can see, I hope is a good analog for me trying to figure out whether it's worth watching. Generally speaking, that's all right. I want to be able to view the session results. So for each session, I just want to see what the results are, and qualifying results and the race results are both sort of just lists by position, by how well they did, in order to see who ended up where with what time and whatever. There's some extra little details that carry on over to the race, but not the most important stuff necessarily. The one thing that I would is more about getting an idea also about whether it's worth watching is the impact that it might have on the standings. So either a round has already finished and there has been an impact on the standings, because for each race, each driver can earn points, each constructor, so each team can earn points, and all those points are added up, and the person with the most points at the end of the year becomes world champion. And it sort of is a world championship because we actually go all around the world, but they call it a world championship. But yeah, anyway, you win the Formula One season. Obviously, I want my driver to win this Formula One season, which he's never done before, which might give you a hint of who it might be. And one really important thing, which you can see I added at the bottom here, and I sort of added it later when I was going over this, like, we need a spoiler switch, because if I wasn't watching live and this data has all come through, I don't want to know what the result is. I want to watch the race. Like, there's some fun in just knowing what the outcome is and trying to see if stuff goes well, but I don't know. It's like, yeah, watching the movie and like knowing that the ring in Lord of the Rings will be destroyed. Yeah, okay, good, but how did it happen? That's the thing. That's the fun about it. So obviously, spoiler switch. So I actually had this for this top part at first, and I was like, okay, well, that's fine, but we've got a selected driver here, and how are we gonna actually select that driver? And I was like, well, we'll need some driver select. So I started off with the driver select view, okay, and then I was like, okay, how are we going to connect that? And I was like, okay, not sure whether it fits into the rounds and the round schedule stuff, because it's sort of a contextual setting, right? Like, I want to use this app from the context of me liking this driver. So like, okay, we'll just probably for now stick it in a nav bar, because I want to keep this thing as simple as possible, really. Have a little nav bar somewhere, or some sort of a contextual view, which I guess to me is a nav bar, where I can see the selected driver, get to the driver select page, list the drivers by name, and let me pick one. And I was like, you know what? Probably if I'm going to be testing this, and I want to make sure that the past rounds and the future rounds and the blah 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 rounds work, I also want the I should probably be able to select a season, because the season now hasn't even started yet. It's starting next week next weekend, I should say. And so there isn't a lot of data there yet in order to work with. So I was like, okay, you know what? It should probably be possible for me to go back to past seasons and see the history of stuff. We'll have to figure out how far you can go back, because that has to do with my with the API that I want to use for this. Oh, this is actually. Hello? Yeah. So I was like, okay, where are we going to get all of this data from? And it was one of the reasons why I thought this would be a doable app, is because there is this developer API that somebody has put out, which actually seems pretty well done, which has a lot of the information about the seasons and the race schedules. And I should actually probably make this a lot bigger, because you can obviously not see this. Season list, race schedule, race results, qualifying results, standings, driver information. I've been looking around in this in order to get a good idea about what I can and cannot show. I'm sure there's stuff that I've put in there that we can't show or doesn't work quite well. What I really think is interesting is lap times, actually. It's like where you get lap times for a per driver, for an entire race, which I think is really cool, because that means I can actually pull them all in and do analysis on that, which comes back to the stream processing that I've been thinking about. But again, I don't want to start doing any of that just for the sake of doing it. I want to make features, and if their feature can work through, if I want a feature, and the only way that feature can work is through doing that sort of stuff, then I'm like, let's go do that. Fun, good, but I'm not gonna go do it if it's not necessary. So this is the React Native stuff. So sometimes if this is about a new feature rather than about a whole new app, this is enough for me to get going. I'm not a person, as I sort of said, I'm not really into wireframes kind of thing. I feel comfortable enough making writing React apps or other type of apps, but mostly I feel comfortable in the browser enough that I'm best off just getting this in the browser as soon as possible, like rather than using prototyping tools and that sort of stuff. As as long as there's some base, I can probably use all of that and do the design right through coding. But obviously this is a complete app from scratch and there's zero design language in it. And so I actually then go to a design tool, and rather than doing wireframing and that sort of stuff, which is what a lot of people tell you to do, I really need to get a sense of the design language and the overall setup of the thing I'm trying to build. So I actually go quite high in fidelity with that, so that I can sort of have a style for the app, and then that I can just go of, and then I can work from the code. So I've made a little something in Sketch, which is what I use. Let's have a little look at this. Maybe just use the preview window. No artboard selected. See, you can see how often I present this sort of stuff. That's not as much. No, I just want the preview window. No. Make this smaller. Can't I use the preview window separately? Okay, let's just view it through the editor, because whatever. There we go. So, I've decided that since I'm making this app for me, and because I want to do something simple, I am going to use the device that I will be using it on, which is my iPad Pro. I've got as you can see here, I've got a 11-inch iPad Pro, like the second generation, where you actually don't have to lose the pencil. I was like, that's what I'm going to be using it on, and obviously I want to make it work on other stuff too, but that's where I'm going to start. A lot of people say go mobile first, because that's the hardest design-wise, and that's probably true, but this is something I'm doing for fun, so I can do it the way I wanted to do it, right? Like, that's the device I wanted to work on most. So let's just work with that. So basically, I've imagined this horizontal scrolling list of the rounds, which I'm not quite sure what else I want to put in there. So I made an affordance for some extra space, but I was like, okay, these slide horizontally, which on a touch device is actually a fairly alright experience. And then as soon as you select one, it turns green, and then from over here you can select the session you want to view the details for. I made a tiny little nav bar at the top here. None of this is actually the way that this is going to turn out. Like design language maybe a little bit. Like I'll probably try and copy the shadow as I've sort of designed it from here, and that sort of there, and to try to get the sizing sort of right. But even then, this is just. And you can see that there isn't even any content here, because I'm like, you know what, this is enough for me to get going, to set up, to get something that's working. And then as soon as it's working, I can always go back to Sketch. Like if there is to design something in detail, I need to. Like the listing of results might actually be complicated enough that there are so many different ways I can take it that I want to bring it back into Sketch. But then I'll create a separate artboard for that, rather than trying to design the entire thing here. This was purely for me to get an idea, okay, my color palette, the feel, and the overall look of the thing. I can actually really tell that I'm doing this at home behind my gaming monitor, because the colors are not anywhere near as nice as they were on my MacBook Pro, because this gaming monitor is like, I play game every now and then, and I wanted a cheap monitor that was good for it. The colors are pretty atrocious, so there's some shadows that I can't see, but I've looked at it on my iPad, which was the most important, looked at it on my MacBook, and it all looks fine there. So I'm just gonna hopefully be able to trust that works, and if not, should still be enough to get going. All right, so I think that's the whole story about what I want to make and what I've prepared thus far. So I guess let's write some code, and let's see if we can get some of this on the screen with code. All right, so what I'm using here is a little thing called Expo. As I got into React Native for my other sort of assignment that I was doing, I realized that there's a thing called Expo, which does stuff to make it, to basically means I don't have to run like Xcode to do development on this. So it's just all JavaScript, and I'm pretty sure I can just say I can say npm start here. I set up a little repo ahead of time, so I didn't have to do all the boilerplate stuff. And then it opens this. Let me actually open this here. It opens this debugger page, and it gives you this QR code. I'm not sure if anyone's watching. You can try it, and see if that works. I think the idea is that here I can even make it a bit bigger for you. So, if anyone, well, there's one viewer, so which is Ben. Hi Ben. You can actually see if that works, and see if you can open it up, and it should show you something. We can actually also open it up in the iOS simulator. I think what happens with Expo is that it does a lot of the building and building on the server side with them or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, nor do I really care. It works at any point. The only normally I wouldn't really use something like that early, but although I've just to get something going, it was so much easier than setting up my own custom thing. And aside from that, one of the things I really liked is that at any point you can eject out of it. So you can see as soon as I select this, we get it bundles the JavaScript together, and then it opens the thing up. Open up the app to start working on your app. Okay, let's see if that works. Formula 1. Yeah. Okay, so that works. So you get hot reloading out of the box and all those kind of details. I want to try one thing, whether I can show this together with my code at the same page. Probably not, because I'm using this full screen. So you have to make this bigger too. Oh, that's very big. As you see, I like to work with virtual desktops, but I guess for streaming, that's not always the most necessary thing. But basically, this means we should be able to work on this and say text, another line, and you get really fast feedback. So if you, so as I was saying before, at any time you can eject out of this. Actually, it comes with this eject script setup. I'm not sure why that's a script, because you can only do it once, as far as I'm aware. But okay. But you can eject out of it, and then the whole Expo thing unpacks itself and gives you the actual Xcode project you need in order to open it in Xcode, kill your machine's memory and CPU, and build the whole thing yourself. And that's probably what I would do before I would actually publish any of this. But just to get going, this is really nice and quick. So one thing I want to do, and that I haven't looked at before, is trying to zoom this thing a bit. Zoom. Physical size, point accurate. Point accurate. Look, that's a lot better. That is actually kind of point accurate if I'm looking at my... Okay, this is where I'll hold my iPad Pro to the screen. Fits pretty well. Okay, so that is point accurate, physically speaking. Magic. All right. I'm gonna do the same thing. So the cool thing of this is that you can, I can actually show you what happens when you scan the QR code. I'm gonna do it with my iPad, which has the Expo app installed, and now it's on my iPad Pro as well. It's like pretty sweet, right? Pretty sweet. Should probably look at my live output rather than just make sure you see that. See, that means you can see anything. Well, sort of. Light permitting. This is a great broadcasting, as you can tell. So the cool thing is, if this wasn't a live stream, I'd probably have this full screen and not even look at my simulator. Just look at my iPad straight on. I might actually leave it on right now. So I want this in landscape. Oh, okay. Okay, let's see. All right, so let's get started with this baby. First things first. Probably something I should have done in setup is that I don't like this app function right here. I don't like. I like a little bit more structure to my repos rather than having a component sitting right there. So I'm just gonna copy that over, and over here I'm going to say components, import that, app, sweet, and then export default app. Does that work? Seems to work. How do you, is it like this? How do I make it a, kind of afraid I'm declaring a global at the moment. Let me just see how I've done that before, because the thing you're supposed to be able to do is to say export app from export default. Cannot type at the moment. It is Friday, so. Oh, that's the thing you're supposed to be able to do, and it doesn't do it. But as you can tell, this doesn't like it. But it does work in the bundler. So I'm actually just, yeah, I really don't like that. This is telling me that there's an error here. I do like to rely on that, so let's go back with this stupid way of doing it. A very quick look-see here to see how I did that within a different project. Because this is one of those things that is just weird about it. So yeah, did it the same way. Okay, if I might have created a global here, but can you do that? Yeah, okay. Well, now it's definitely not a global. I'm not sure why this works, but it works. Don't think too long about weird, just a bit of weird things here. Okay, so everything's to be going properly here. I could actually see who's connected, my root Batu pad, and my iPad Pro 11-inch simulator. Cool. All right, so let's get started here. I'm gonna get started with the background of this. Oh wait, that instantly reminds me. Styles theme.js. So the one thing, so this whole styling within JavaScript is something that I'm not really used to, but something you have to do for React Native. On the web, I use CSS modules, which is very, very nice to me. So I have a CSS module that aligns to every single component, sort of like a one-to-one mapping between two, and that's when you get to also use preprocessors like less or not even, and use variables and that sort of stuff. Because there are a couple of base measurements that I do want to use. So let's but I think so far I've just found that that the way to do this is to just make a little theme and then use that. Just import this. So we're gonna import this theme module or inject it somehow and make the app use it. And I guess you can even make dynamic themes that way. So it's kind of cool, but you know. Gutter width is something I use, which we're setting to 30 generally speaking. Line height computed. Set to 25. So what are these numbers? These are the numbers that describe gaps between this. So gutter width is basically what I've used in my design for all of this. So if you can see, oh, it's actually off by 1. Oh, gonna be off. No. Oh, see, there's just 1. See, so that's that gap that I have. It's a standard gap. I use the same gap just about everywhere. And just using that as a variable and expressing all of my other gaps, even if they're not that wide, as part of that, makes sure that I can keep stuff in proportion really easily. And there's the line height, which actually this should be down a bit. Basically, every line height I want to express as the line height between 2 pieces of text. Generally speaking, I use 25 pixels or 25 units, whatever we're working in. So basically, all the horizontal gaps I express with the gutter width, and all vertical gaps I express with the line height. And it's just a really nice way to keep everything looking aligned all the time, and aligning stuff properly, and making it all look very consistent. So I'm gonna import that. Import theme from styles theme. Yeah, and this is also generally where I like to get my color palette in. Every single time I do this slightly differently because I'm never really happy with the way it turns out. But I'm just gonna use this background color here. Body background color. Generally speaking, I would actually make a palette here with like light blue, lighter blue, accent blue, that sort of stuff. But for now, we'll just do that as we go, really. So, but now I can use this background color thing, and I can say, oh, I just moved this. Nice one. I can use theme, background, body background color. And did that work? I think it did. It's very, very subtle color, as you can tell. I never like to work with white as a background color. You need something a little bit more subtle than that. And I also like something to use that's not a complete gray, because if you just, there's people that go like, F5, F5, F5 or something like that. And I don't know. I like a little bit of saturation in my background colors. Anyway, okay, so that's the background color for that. So what's the next thing that we want to do? Probably get the main layout in place, where we have a navigation bar at the top, a content bit here, and then the selector there. That'll do for now. Let's just try and get that in. So get rid of these text nodes. I'm just gonna say view style is styles. What are you gonna call this thing? Navbar. And a couple of text nodes in there. Not that used to VS Code yet. I've moved to VS Code, so I'm not quite used to the way that it autocomplete stuff. So you'll see me typing stuff double every now and then. But that's the way that goes, I guess. Season 19, 2019 is what we wrote there. Just use placeholder text. And then use the name. Okay, so right now that's being rendered over there. It's not ideal, but let's just get this in first. Styles. Let's just say body. It's a bit. Say round. Just round. We can make it a round container later if that's what we need to do. So let's get a little bit of content in there. Actually, we've got a little bit of a division here, so maybe we can get that in there straight away as well. Styles. how do we call this thing? Once you've named a couple of things, it's really easy to name things because you know how you've been naming things before, but you're establishing a new way of naming things. So sessions, session nav, because we're navigating the session, and then so if you're wondering, shouldn't these be separate components? Probably, yeah. Totally, they probably should be. It's just not caring at the moment. I'm not gonna spin anything off into its own thing until it has proven that it needs to be there. And so far, we've got very little stuff. This module isn't that big yet, so you know. So this is fine. Probably starting to need to key now. No, Saturday. So I'm also just gonna copy and paste stuff because that's fine, right? Like it's very easy to make this more dynamic later, as long as we don't do it too late and wait too long to do it. So that's a session nav and a round, and then we're gonna have a session details probably. Style session. All right, that was actually empty, but let's say now, let's just put a little bit of text. Let's put a text note in there. Qualifying results, sure, because that's sort of what's going to go in there. Okay, that's the round, and then I'm gonna put styles. No, styles. Rounds. Just call it rounds. We don't even have to call it navigation. It's just the way we show rounds. Okay, actually, let's make that into a scroll view just right away. Scroll view is a thing that allows, in React Native, that allows you for the content to be scrollable. Do we want a list view? Because the list view only renders the stuff that's in the thing rather than maybe. But I don't really know how it works. And at most, we've got 20 rounds in here, so we're not rendering that many items. Let's just do scroll view for now, and if that we can always come back later and make a list view. Because this is going to change so many times anyway. It doesn't really matter those kind of decisions at the moment. It's good to have considered, but I'm calling it not mattering. We're going to put in here. Let's just put some text in there and say March 16th. Is that what I said? March 16th. And the first one is in Australia. And then the next one is in Bahrain, I think. Yep. Actually, one of the reasons why this might be a good app is that because of the whole COVID-19 coronavirus thing, a lot of these races might not actually happen because there's these races are well-intended events. Generally, at least 200,000 people, or I mean, I guess it could be different per race, but generally speaking, it's a big. Like the teams are really big that go there themselves, and then there's like 200,000 spectators or something like that. So obviously if corona outbreak is really an issue at that place, then people might want to do it. And so actually the third race, China, has already been canceled. Or is that the fourth race? Anyway, one of the races has been canceled. I think it's the fourth race because Vietnam is next. Okay, let's put one more in. And after that, with three, once we start to do more than three, I would say, okay, this is where we need to actually just make a little array, loop over these things and render these dynamically. But so far, this will do. Okay, well, there's our app. It's great. It's beautiful. Yeah, not really, is it? So let's make a difference to that. We're gonna say, so we've got the container. Which is stacking everything vertically. That's good. Align items center. Let's not do that. Or justify center. Let's not do that. And let's justify content by space between. Okay, let's just actually worry about the alignment once we've got these other things in place. Nav bar. Okay, what can we say about the nav bar? Well, it's sort of standard. It's sort of roughly this in height, but let's not define the height if we don't have to. Let's instead style the text. Nav bar. Oh wait, we want to say flex shrink 0. We never want this to shrink. That's a good property to set for something that should always be in view. There's no real way where a nav bar should ever have to shrink to something smaller. And then I want the flex direction to be column. By default in browsers, it's column. So as soon as you say display flex on something, stuff is elements are rendered horizontally. Look, we're rendering stuff over the status bar. I think there was something called save area view. Yeah. Save area view. Cool. Save area view basically accounts for roundings and nav bars and all that sort of stuff. So far, we'll just wrap the entire thing in it and go with that. All right. Season 2019 Verstappen. Why did that not work? Flex direction column. Is there actually a row that I want? It's actually a row that I want. See, because now these two are rendered next to each other, just like in the movies. So the font that we're using, another thing that's really different in React Native that I had to get used to and only ran into when I actually made something in that little 2-day project, is that there's no text inheritance. So you can't just say, okay, this is the font for me and all my children, because it's basically no. Every text node needs to have its own. Font declared and the text styles declared. So I'm gonna make a little typography header and font family normal. Font family normal. So I'm gonna call it Avenir, which is one of the fonts that is in iOS and looks nice and what I've designed it with. Now we've used this is super small, so you can't tell on the stream, but over here it says heavy, and you can see that this is quite heavy text. Hello, zoom. It's not gonna work. You can't see this, but I'm making a pinching motion. But I guess it's not gonna work. Okay, well. No, zooming is not working on in Sketch at the moment. Well, anyway, you can see that this is heavy text. This isn't just a normal thing. And there is no font weight. This is not a thing. So apparently you have to do that by in a sort of way that you would do with web fonts, or used to have to do with web fonts, and select and have that as a separate, define it as a separate font. That's what I was trying to say. But I don't know exactly how to format that. So React Native font list. List of available fonts in React Native fonts. See, you can tell I've used this before. Avenir. So there's a dash with the Avenir. But you can tell that like some of these don't do that. Some of them do. Actually, maybe all the styles are always dashed. Oh yeah, they're always dashed. And Avenir Next Condense is actually its own font. Okay. I can see how that works. Font family heavy is Avenir heavy, and then we can. I know that I've also used medium at the very least. So let's just define that straight away. Avenir medium. Do I have to say regular actually here? No, Avenir seems to be fine. Okay, let's set a standard font size. I'm used to setting that to 18. Let's set a line height of 1.4. What else do we want to do? Color maybe. Maybe the color. Let's see what color this is. I don't know if so I've defined this as document colors, as you can see here in this area. It's very small, but for each, but anyway, let's just use it. You can per project you can have colors in there. Colors. Color blue. Is this our main blue? Maybe it is our main blue. Wait, let's just do const colors is, put those all in there. Color blue, lightest. It's definitely the lightest because it's the background. And then we can actually use this in here. Colors blue, lightest. And we can make them still available by... Actually, I was going to say I have to mix this in like this. Would be one way to do it. But obviously I can just say export. Export that baby. Colors. Yeah. Should probably spell this with a U, but I won't. I would want to, but let's not do that. And then, oh yeah, and then font size, cool. Body. And then we can... So there's some things that I will, like the body color, things that I will actually define as colors. Actually, this isn't the body color at all because it's not the main color we use. So the main color for the content I would define as a standard color, as in like, okay, on this background always use this type, but not all of them like this one. So we're just gonna get the colors, color blue from the colors property over there. So I think we do it like that then, and then we say, oh wait, let's see. So here's one thing that, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to say colors, color blue, but this doesn't do anything because navbar is a view. It's not a text node. And so now we have to gonna give this a style. Maybe should we just inline it? No, we shouldn't. Oh, that's not the right node. Styles, navbar, item, text. I don't know. So this is now annoying, and I'm sure there must be a better way to do this. I can imagine maybe there's a way to do this with context that injects this automatically, like make a little component that wraps text and becomes like a navigation text and then applies it automatically. But yeah, I'm just gonna do it like this for now, because in the end it comes down to the fact that that this is the thing you have to do. You have to actually style the text node and each text node itself. So I have to say font family, theme, font family, heavy. I think we said about this. Yeah. And then font size. What do we have it set to? 19. Let's just use that for now. And then we set the colors, and now we can go colors, color blue. There we go. See, looks more like it. Now we can obviously see that the spacing isn't right, so this actually hasn't been designed properly. So 15, which is 60% of the line height, which is what we want. So how about we pad? We say, I wonder if this is a thing you can do. We're going to find out right now. Theme, line height computed. Times 0.6. So that's for the top right. And let's theme line height computed. No, gutter width. Why do I call these things that? It's because in a very, very long time ago, I used Bootstrap and still use that even when I started not really using Bootstrap. I've just hung on to those words, really. The words of line height computed and gutter width. Tire cannot be converted. Okay, it cannot be converted. Okay, see, this is sort of something I ran into last time. And I wasn't sure how to... It's basically the shorthand syntax. Do I have to add points or something? If type answering cannot be converted to ABI. Okay, well, I'll just... padding. Okay. Apparently that doesn't work. I can look it up, but I don't want to break my flow at the moment, so I'm just gonna make that explicit to both be the padding top and the padding bottom, and then make this the padding left and the padding right. Oh. That's where you can see I'm just, there's just some experience I don't have with that platform. And when I look at this again, I'll probably get it fixed. So this is 1.5 gutter width. So gutter width is, gutter width is 30. So 2 gutter widths is 60. And so 1.5 gutter width is 45. And so this we're going to see where this is going to come in. I'm going to set a margin right to these things of a theme gutter width, 1.5 gutter widths in between, right? So if I find out that I want different spacing, I want some more space between my elements right now, I can change the gutter width to, I don't know, I could change the gutter width to 40. And everything stays, you know, proportionally the same. Don't know if that's necessary, but I've always found it really nice to do that, way. Okay, that's working the way it should. Very basic, simply rendering that in the right spots. Let's get the let's do the rounds next, because obviously that's pretty it looks a very particular way, and we want to stay that. We want that to stay in place no matter what. So it is 1.6 line heights away. And we want that one to grow. We want the middle one to grow, all the available space. We want this one to stay a fixed size, basically the size of these items. So let's do these items first. Cut them down to 300. So I'm not sure if I actually did this to right size, but let's just round that a bit. Let's do the round item first here. Right, that's what I call it, right? Oh, now I call it round. Height, I want them to always be 300 points, and then the width is is anything interesting? 275. Well, it might be that I want to make that dynamic later on, but for now I'm just, it's not necessarily something. There's nothing there yet that tells me that needs to be that way. So again, that's not what I'm going to do. Unexpected token. Oh, I've eaten some characters. Styles rounds, flex direction, row. This is not working the way I want it to. Why is this not doing what I think it does? So what I'm hoping to see here is, because the rounds is the container around the thing. Maybe because it's a scroll view. Maybe it's a scroll view thing. View, style, styles, rounds container. I'll make this the rounds. Alright. Yeah, turned out that was the thing. Okay. Turns out the scroll views don't actually render a view, I guess, themselves. Or not something that adheres to flex layout, at least. Now let's get some basic styles in here. Passed around. I actually got that as a separate. I'm really annoyed that my zooming doesn't work. Pass round. For the pass round, I want the background color to be that thing. Can I just inline that color for now? Yeah, it's such a specific color. I'm just gonna... If I reuse that color somewhere else, then I can always make that a thing. Oh yeah, see, I now run into the... into the thing that text nodes need their own style. Round date. Round country. Round date is a color. It's actually different. It should be a different color if I've designed this correctly. Or did I just change the weight? C6 90BA. Did I make them the same color? Oh, I made them the same color. Okay, well, easy enough. Round country. Oh, gotta use shift. Cool. Oh, I was like, why is that background color not coming in? But that's because this needs pass around. Haha. Okay, so obviously we need to work on the positioning of things. We need to work on layout, spacing, and rounding of corners. Box radius. I think I went for a pretty aggressive radius here. 25. That's pretty big. Box radius. Border radius. Yup. Okay, that's clipping, but that's not too big of a deal because I'm gonna set this to flex directions, right? Flex, align items in the center. All right. Round date. Let's get the font size correct for that one. 26 of Avenir medium. It's 26 points, and then the font family medium. Medium. Nee. There we go. Yeah. All right, that's looking better. And then the other one is heavy, or is it even bold? Black. Gonna have to add another one. Font family. It's a bit weird, right? That I've ordered it this way. Over there. Let's do the normal one on the top and then go. I don't know. Things that don't really matter. Font family. Theme. Font family. Black. What size did I do? 33. Really sorry if I'm making everyone sick with all these desktop changes. As you can tell, it's really ingrained in my in the way that I work. Okay, that's starting to look more like the way we've designed it. Ooh, you can actually vertically scroll it. That's not the way we want it to be, but sure. Let's focus on how it looks first. We've got 0.8 of a line height in there. Marge. Let's actually apply that as padding. Padding top. Theme line height. It's better. And then there's actually a small difference between them. 8 pixels, which is to the calculator. Cool. It doesn't really come down to too much anyway, but let's say margin bottom on this thing. I like to have my layout stuff on top, actually. I don't know why I haven't been doing that. Layout and then styling. It's something that I've been doing forever. Layout computed times 0.3, that is what we said, and then we'd like to round that, please. All right, that's all right. That's not too bad. Now let's get these different other styles in. So obviously this is a pass round. This would be the current round. And this would be a future round. Cool. Here I've got my own colors. This is a big accent color that I'm gonna use everywhere, so I'm gonna define it. Whoa. I was looking at this and thinking how silly this looks. Colors dot color blue. Everything in colors is a color. Blue. No, blue. And then that's silly, isn't it? Color blue. It's the only thing we've used, I think. Like that. Compiles. Sweet. Green. It's my main accent color. Past round, current round. Enough. Did I say current? Current round. Background color. Actually, let's go with the accent color thing. Man, I'm getting a bit blind from all those massive autocompletes. Like, I'm looking at the replay of my the replay of my thing, and I just see all these massive overlapping autocompletes. Sublime does not do that, so I still have to figure out how to configure code to also not do that. All right, okay, so that's rendering in the right color, but then we need the right text colors as well. Current, what do we say? Ooh, that's interesting. See, so here's something that I would do in CSS. I would make these round, past round, current round, and then I would make all of these separate text nodes, and then I would also, and then through the way that you can chain CSS selectors, I will be able to say, okay, this is how a round looks, this is how a round date looks, but this is how a round date looks if it's inside a round that's also a past round, and this is how it looks when it's a, so in this way I would say, in CSS I would say round date for like the overall date stuff, and then if I wanted to say, okay, well for the past round I want the colors to be different, this is what I would do. So obviously that's something we can do here. So wonder what we can do. What is neat? What would be a neat way to deal with that? Don't really want to think about it too long though. Font size is all fine, margin bottom's fine, all that stuff. It's only the color that I want to be different. I'm not sure really. Do we really have to go like past round date? Yeah, damn, I think we do. Okay, if somebody knows of a more elegant way of dealing with this, please let me know. Use Vim instead, says Ben. Ben? No. Bad Ben. Down, Ben, down. Use Vim instead. Just trying to get me worked up here. Past round country. You know what I could do? Actually thinking about it. could do this. Alright, let me finish my thought before I move on to the next thing. Say that to that color is C6, whatever. So was that the same color? It was the same color, wasn't it? Alright. Round styles. And then instead of creating a style sheet straight away, let's create... I don't know if you can nest style sheets, but I'm not going to try. Not right now. General. Round. Round date. Round country. So I'm making all these selectors, and now I can make different versions of them. And I can hopefully combine them in some sane way. Oh. Wait, what am I nesting now? Who does this belong to? Who? Oh. I'm really lost here for a second. Who sees what I'm doing wrong? Or is this because I break stuff here? No, I did not. Okay. Cut and paste. See when it... Oh. And now I see it. It's 1:30. And Ben might be impaired in his reasoning. Yes, you might be impaired in your reasoning. Most likely impaired in your reasoning, Ben. Rounds, flex direction, that's all still fine. Okay, hopefully I didn't get rid of anything. Let's see if I can apply this to the existing thing. Styles, round styles. General, round. Round styles. Past round. Past round, round. Hopefully that makes sense. Round styles. General, round date. And then combined with round styles. Past round, round date. Ooh, stuff be breaking. Wow. Prettier. How is this supposed to make this readable? How is this supposed to do that? Let's back up here for a second. Okay, I want all styles. Let's get rid of this for a second. I need to use my little brain here for a second, because maybe this is a point for me to start saying I need to render this in a more code-like manner, but let's edit all of these and say general round. Yeah, okay, that worked. Sweet. And then all these round dates can go to round styles, general round date. All right, okay. Back to sanity here. Round styles, past round. Still a little bit bigger for both, if I'm really honest, but I'm thinking I could also precompile the styles, but because I'm gonna be adding these dynamically later, I'm not sure if that's what I want to do. Yeah, obviously, instead of combining them here in the text, I can combine them here. I can take the round, like the general round styles, and then mix those into the round into the various pass rounds and whatever. But yeah, it's something I could do, and maybe something I'll change it to later. But for now, I'm like, this is fine. It's actually not fine, but it's actually pretty bad. Fast round date. It's breaking my eyes, this. It's just absolutely terrible. It was fine the way it was prettier. I'm using prettier formatting, so I don't have to think about how I format stuff. I just write it and hit save, but apparently it's intending on making my eyes hurt. So why is this not picking up these colors now? Because I didn't put the colors in there. That's why. See, I should have been committing. Normally, yeah, I would probably be committing by now. But I didn't. So if I'm going to have to redo some of this stuff, I might as well redo it and get this going. Can you extend style? These things are not. Docs. Style sheet. Shed, style sheet. Flatten might be what I want. Alternative use, create a list item, and alternative use to create style as a list item, select that listed item. was trying to think, can I do this? Flatten round styles. Put this in there, get rid of that. Nope, no, we need that. Come on. It's just the editor not working with me here. Right. Yes. Okay, this should start to work. Pass round styles. Shoot. Fine. And then current round styles. We can change those colors to that theme accent color. So I'm basically doing the same thing here, but I'm doing the flattening earlier on because it makes it easier to read and doesn't mess up my syntax so much. This is just the thing you run into when you use technologies that you're not hella experienced with, because you know, you're gonna have to figure out how to get around differences to what you're used to. So we're going to take the background color of the round. All right, now. Okay, now we need to just apply them. So over here, we should be able to just say pass round styles, round. Pass round styles, round date. And then later when we do this dynamically, we can obviously just choose which styles we pass to it, and then it will, you know, the round styles will just be a little bit of a like an interface that all the styles will have to implement, and then it should work out. Style, pass round styles. No, current round styles. So the colors are definitely being picked up on, because I hadn't defined different colors for that yet. I'm just going to do that so we don't get a lot of confusion. And those are different colors. Yes, they are. Why is it not taking my, not flattening that properly? Style sheet create, list item, flex, selected item. Ah, wait, it's, okay, it's flattening these two into one. So is there no way to combine these things together? I mean, it's not really an issue, because instead of using style, the style sheet create, I'm just gonna make these normal objects, and then it just becomes a little bit messier. That's all. So this is just a normal object now. Nothing fancy. Get rid of the flatten thing. Round styles. And I guess that does give you control over what you don't want to override and what you do. So I guess it's not even the worst thing. Of course I have to do that there as well. Load more flattening. Current round styles. Something there is going wrong. Oh. Yeah, see, so that obviously that does work because it's just normal JavaScript. If you have any, if you know anything specific about how to deal with this sort of stuff better in React Native, please let me know. I mean, maybe by the time you see this video, then I might have already figured it out. Probably have. Okay, that works fine. Okay, so those style stuff is a little bit fraught, slightly, but okay, this works now. Let's do the last one. Let's do a future round as well. Future round styles. Round. Future round styles. Okay. What are my styles for that? Let's duplicate that. Future round styles, which now obviously doesn't exist. Now it does. So it exactly compiles. Just need to get the colors right. Oh, that's the same. No, that's not the same color. That's lighter. Background color should be this. Oh. Let's not put an @ sign in there. Maybe I did set it to the same color, but it should not be. And then these colors. Did I change the opacity of this thing or something? No. Round date. I'm gonna say that's the same color. Yep. All right, so that's looking more the way it's supposed to look. What we're missing is a shadow. I did also put a shadow on these. Now I have to look up how to do shadows because shadow props. There we go. At least the documentation seems to be pretty on it. Shadow color, offset, opacity, and radius. Is shadow radius the blur? Who? Hello? Yep. Oh, yeah, blur radius. Okay, so that's cool radius, but it's the blur radius. Sweet. Well, I reckon that's the same for all of them. So, shadow offset. How do we do the offset? Width, I believe it's 0. Height 13. Shadow radius, I think is something like 27 or something. Is that right? Yeah. It is, and then the spread is -5. Spread is not an option. Okay, we might have to calculate that ourselves if we care to. Let's get the shadow color out. RGB please. 50, 50, 93, 7. 50, 50, 93, 7. I think you can just use RGBA like that, right? We have a shadow here now? Not quite. Shadow color, blue. There's some way to reload this, isn't it? Yeah. Let me see how I did that somewhere else. I've done this once before, and I remember then having to look it up as well. Should do that off screen because it's not really code I'd like to show or am allowed to show. Very quick look. Shadow opacity. Is that a thing we need to do? Yup, that was the thing we need to do. Okay, let's go back to what we had. Shadow opacity. 1. And there we have it. I don't know if you can tell on the stream or not, but it does produce a very subtle little shadow. So subtle that I'm thinking we might have to make it slightly easier to see. Actually, on my iPad, on which I also have this open, it's a lot easier to see. Yeah, I'm not completely sure if I'm happy with that yet. Shadow offset. So if you vertically scroll it, you're going to see some, actually I should make it a little bit easier to see here. Very heavy shadow. If you vertically, you're going to get some stuff on top of it, which is not what I want, but because I'm not sure how to account for the spread. But I think that's okay because we're going to have to, we want this to scroll horizontally, not vertically at all. So it shouldn't really, although we do get a little bit of a thing there. What if we just set this as high as the radius? Yeah, then that's gone, and the shadow is still all right. So let me see if I set this to a bit more visible, you can tell it's not as much of a. Yeah, okay. Well, it's supposed to be very subtle anyway, just to give a slight idea that these things are cards that you can manipulate. On my iPad, it looks great, which is obviously one of the things I'm going for here. All right. How long have I been going? For almost 2 hours. Okay, that's quite a while. Let's I can either, let's see if we can do some behavior to the scroll view. Horizontal, true. Vertical. Can I disable this vertically? Okay. If it's horizontal, then it's definitely only horizontal. Sweet. That looks nice. Feels good, especially on the device itself. Oh man, obviously we need some spacing between these rounds. Margin, right. Kind of eyeball that I just made this a gutter width. Oh, yep. I did, but I should apply it to all of them. Yep. That's nice. That's the way that's supposed to work. So the thing I eventually want, the way that I envision it working is that there's a little line separating this area from the content area, like the nav area from the content area, and for this to be super smooth and to snap over that line so that the middle of the current one lines up with the line, sort of in the design as in here. There's like a little line running here, and I want the scrolling to be super smooth, so that basically as you scroll this thing to the left, that it gets that the colors change and it gets selected. So super smooth navigation, really easily swapping between rounds. That's what I'm hoping to accomplish there. Okay, well, that's very basically horizontal. There's obviously a lot more stuff I want to do there. Let's get the markup of this completely right until I move on to behavior. So that we can look at stuff that doesn't look so terrible. So the thing in the middle, I also called that a round. Not as handy, is it? Although, now it doesn't matter because that's a different object anyway. Might be slightly confusing, but they're going to end up in different components anyway, different modules at some point anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead with it. So I want this one to grow as much as it can. How much is it? As much as it's allowed, and I want rounds. Rounds container. You can still see I'm thinking CSS. I just added that dot in there. Rounds container. Let's set the flex grow to that to 0 because we just want that to be the same size. And look, and just by applying those things, we are already pushing this all the way to the bottom. Just by applying which of those children of the main container can grow and which can't. So I see a lot of people. Whoa, my hair! Thanks for the heads up, people. Okay. Well, if you see me work before, this is no news. I'm constantly messing around with my hair. That's how I think. So you've learned something nice and personal about me now. I see a lot of people messing around with like alignment of content of items and justification, and that's a way to enforce those kind of things. I see people using align self a lot in order to say, okay, I want to always be at the bottom, I also want to be on the top. But I find that if you just use the growing by itself and to say, okay, especially with this type of layout, when there's one bit that is allowed to grow as much as the screen is high, but the rest is supposed to stay the way it is, I find that by far the method with the least issues. Whether that's also the method with the least issues in React Native, I guess I don't know, but so far it seems to be working. So that's nice. Yeah. Okay. Let's get that looking the way it should look. I select that. Oh, poor designing on my part here again. Don't let Ben see it. Don't let Ben know. Yep. Sweet. Save that. So the session nav sits in the middle of that. Did I already put some in there as well? Oh yeah, session nav and session details are the two things we want to work with here. Session nav, flex direction. Let's make that row. So the flex direction is obviously for its children, not for it itself. And its children are the session nav and the session details. And again, we're going to say the session nav. Maybe here we actually want to see if there is some sort of what are these distances? Let's take this line. No. Did I use a layout designing this? I did. 4 stands to 8. So we'll say this is 4 and this is 8. Does that give us the right? Oh. Yeah. Sort of. Good enough for now. that gives us the right separation between those. The session details. Let's put a little bit of padding on that. No, wait, let's start with the actual thing that we want to do. Saturday. What did I say for that? Session, probably nothing, right? Yeah, nothing. Select that. Okay, when your selectors get this long, session nav item day, that's probably another indicator. Okay, this could be its own. This would do well being its own component, so that you can be less. You have to be less verbose in order to make sure you don't get any collisions. Session nav item name. I guess that's just the name of the session. That's fine. Nav item start. Yep. Could maybe say start time, but whatever. So this thing itself will want to break up horizontally because we've got this massive Saturday thing and then those qualifying things. Probably means that we'll want to wrap these in a view. Man, I just love using multiple using multiple cursors at once. Something that I at some point saw on a video when getting used to Sublime, and I thought it looked so cool. I was like, I want to do that. And it actually turns out that it's actually super useful once you've taught yourself the way you do that. And actually, as you can see, with this, it can work pretty nicely. Let's keep that out of the way so we can see how that works properly. Session night nav item. So first we want to have a horizontal division. So that's a row there. Saturday, Sunday. Let's just cheat a little bit. Let's just say set and sun. Could do that with styling, at least in CSS you could. Let's see if there's a text transform in this, shall we? Style. Getting a little bit lost here now. Let's put a color on that. Is there a text transform? Uppercase. Well, it makes me believe there is. Yeah, there is. Sweet. That's not bad. Okay, let's say text align, justify. Color of the text to be, oh, I thought I copied it. I guess not. That thing. Okay, and I used Avenir Heavy, so font family, theme, font family, heavy. What did I use for the size? 53. All right, that looks like the design, right? This is so actually where I would want to use CSS grid. Because now you're going to have the issue of how do I make sure that I align set and sun? How do you make sure those are the same size? right now, if in CSS Grid, you could use a grid and say, those are the same two things. But because we want to render sessions dynamically, it doesn't work out this way. So we can probably just set a variable, just set a width for these. That's probably just what we'll do. Do we have some sort of a width for this? 120 maybe. Oh wait, I believe there is some inspector in here. Element inspector. Inspect. Oh. Say anything about the width of the thing? 115. 111.5. Let's say 115. Because it's set to justify anyway. Why is that? Oh, it's just justifying the words. Anyway, let's look at that later. Like the thing I'm looking at. Oh. Let's disable that again. The thing I'm looking at is like I want the Saturday and Sunday to nicely overlap and look spaced the same way, but obviously text kerning is not making that happen. Something I'll probably tweak later on is polish. Let's just move on from that for now. Actually, I don't really have it. Didn't even do it here, where I had control over the text kerning, so over the letter kerning, so it doesn't matter for now. Okay, so let's just for spacing, let's just enforce the gap that we always have. So let's just margin right. Let's say theme got a width. So wait. All right, that works. And then we want the session nav item details and use those. Flex grow 1. I want to set this to flex grow 0. Just always want it to be that the same size. Now, what kind of typography that we apply here? Medium 28 of the color that. Font family, medium, font size 28, right? Color, that one. Again, that needs to be its own thing. Session, nav item, name. Yep. Looks legit. And this I set to heavy. But I wanted it to be small. Heavy 19. That color. Session nav item start font family. All right, how's that looking? There's a little bit of line height difference here. A little bit too much of a gap here, more than I like. And also, I like to... No, I guess I sort of... So I was going to say this qualifying and the top of Saturday probably need to align together. But they probably don't. And the reason why I'm thinking it is because it's so close to the nav bar. But the way I've designed it, as you can hear, is a lot further away. And then with more space around it, and then the centering of the two makes more sense. But I do want qualifying and 4 p.m. to be closer to each other, because or well, maybe not even. No, let's apply the other margins first and see how we go. That's a 45. Now these will be pressable, so I want to make the touch target nice and big. So I'm gonna add some padding to add the padding of 45 in 2 stages. On the nav item itself, theme padding left times a half, which is 15. Let's do the same for the right, just to keep everything neat. Wait. Oh, that's obviously not a number, is it? Got a width. All right, and then I want this entire session details thing to have a padding left of basically the same thing, but without that guy. No, session nav, not the details, the session nav. Do I want it on the right? No, actually, don't want it on the right. I don't. Let's move this to the round instead. Okay, so that gives us the horizontal. Let's get rid of that by reloading it. I don't like warnings. All right. Let's get the horizontal spacing. Now, obviously, that's more of an alignment thing. So if we're gonna align items space between, space evenly. Or is that just, oh wait, no, we're talking about justifying, because, yeah. It's not quite what I had in mind. I want those to stay a lot closer to each other. Probably say center, and then do that with individual size between them. Nav items. Just solve it with some margin. Yeah, that's probably the way to go. How much do we put in between each? 20, but that's not properly sized, is it? Auto. Oh, the line is 35. That's way too much. Okay, we're gonna just have to try this theme. Line height computed times 2. Let's see what kind of thing. Oh, that's all around margin. Just a bottom margin, please. 2 is a bit much. How about just 1? Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I think that works. Sweet. Let's move on forever. Yeah, and then we just have the, we basically have this. Do we want to try and add this little border? Probably, but obviously we're having added difficulties because it goes all the way down here. Let's just ignore that for now as some sort of as polish. And just add it to the session nav border right color. don't know if you can use shorthand with this, so I'm gonna go with every single one of them. Just I think I've got a width of 2 on this. Too wide? Yeah, it is. And it has that. Yeah, I mean, obviously you see that it doesn't align, but then that's something to fix. I want it to sit like that. But all in all, that looks pretty sweet, and that is kind of the way we want stuff to look. Let's remove the qualifying results for now, because that little bit of text, because it's ruining my day. Qualifying results. Oh, that's where we put it. Let's comment that out for now. Sweet. Well, that is not too bad. I'm trying to think. What about this is not exactly the way I wanted? It's a scroll view that needs some space on the bottom because this shadow is getting cut off. I can make the shadow a bit more pronounced, and you can tell. See, it's getting cut off at the bottom. That's not fun. So let's scroll view rounds container. Do I have some? Oh, yeah, see, I have quite a bit more space here as well. So let's use a line height there because we're already getting a little bit for free from the safe area. Ah, that's the safe area view. That's messing us up there. How about we make this a safe area view, and this just a normal view. Oh, obviously I need to change the closing ones as well. Sweet. I mean, it sort of broke the. I guess the save area view doesn't allow you to apply certain things. And it makes it so that we have to add our own thing here. But no longer do we have any breaking shadows. Apparently, if we put that shadow back to where we had it, now it just looks nice and smooth. Sweet. Now, what about that? What about the nav bar didn't work? Is there like a go to definition? Yeah, there is. What about that didn't work? The padding left. Did that not work? No, that did not work. A nav bar save area. Actually, we don't need to style it, so actually let's just solve it by adding another view. Maybe there's a different way to fix this. Maybe. I don't know. Happy to learn. And then it's, of course, then we need to flex direction also needs to go to the navbar body. And now that's working again. Sweet. Okay, so now we know that we're safe from the from this thing, but at the same time we are allowed to go outside. We are allowed to render outside of the safe area, so into this, so we can render the shadow underneath that. Let's give that a little bit more space, and then that's what I think will be the last thing I do for today, at least on this stream. What do we say with that? Round container, padding bottom. Let's do 1.5 line heights there. Yeah, that's a bit better. Sweet. Well, that works quite nicely, and that's not too far from what I've designed as a first step. All right, well, I'm pretty pleased with that. I haven't been doing any committing, especially when I'm just building something up like this from scratch. I often do middle commits, but I was, flowing nicely today, so might as well not. Let's have a look at this. Well, we can basically just commit it all as draft, general layout. Push that. All right. Well, this has been pretty cool. There's obviously a lot to do in terms of actually making this do something rather than just making the layout work. But even that, I think we've been going for about 2 hours now, and I've been able to explain what I'm going to do, and we've actually been able to replicate the entire thing, which is not too bad, actually. So next, and probably in another stream. I might do a little bit of work off stream, but in another stream, I'm going to try and make this functional and start working on the middle piece and start with using the API, the Formula 1 API, in order to get all of this and start running this dynamically. The basics to do that are definitely there. I hope you'll join me again to watch that. Let's make this really cool. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something about React Native in the same way that I just did. I've definitely relied on some things that I knew a little bit, but as you could see, there's also things I didn't know at all. Tune in next time, and let's keep working on this app. Right? See you later.